Hi everybody, my name is Joey Mullen and today I am filling in for my friend Rachel O'Leary, who's still kind of recovering from her knee surgery she had earlier. To help her out, I offered to make a video for her. She said, "Can you do a species spotlight?" I said, "Sure, which fish out of my entire gallery would you like to do?" Me expecting the 2,000-gallon aquarium with the stingrays and Asian arowana that everybody loves. She said, "No. I want you to do it on the Uaru." To my absolute delight, one of my favorite fish of all time. In fact, my channel originally was named after the Uaru. Uaru Joey, now the king of DIY. However, this is a fish that she loves, a fish that I love, and I think that after this video, you might as well. So let's get started. First and foremost, the Uaru is a South American cichlid. Its Latin name is Uaru amphicanthoides. There's actually two species of Uaru, one being the one that we're going to be showcasing in today's video, which is the Uaru amphicanthoides, and then there is the Uaru fernandezii or fernandezii. I can never pronounce these. For those people that know me, know that I butcher those names all the time. Luckily for us, they're commonly referred to as Uaru A and Uaru F. Both of these fish come from South America and being one of the gentle giants. There's so many interesting and fascinating facts about these fish, and I can't wait to tell you about them. I guess we should start with some interesting, easy to digest facts about the Uaru. Spelled U-A-R-U, pronounced Uaru, like W-A-R-O-O. So many people get that wrong, but it's completely understandable. The pronunciation versus the spelling make no sense. With that said, these guys are also called the triangle cichlid and the poor man's discus. The triangle cichlid, based on the idea that when they become adults, the black blotch along their sides that they eventually develop almost forms a bit of a triangle, more of a wedge, but you get the idea. Some will also say it's called a triangle cichlid based on its dorsal fin and how long and pronounced it can be. These guys remind me of a big peacock that struts its feathers when they put out that big dorsal fin. Absolutely beautiful. They don't usually do it all the time, but man, when they do it, is it ever special. Poor man's discus. There's actually a couple of fish in the hobby that's referred to as the poor man's discus, but the Uaru is the absolute original, and I'll tell you why. The Uaru is found in localities that discus are as well. But so many other fish are included in that massive list of where discus are found. But what truly makes them the poor man's discus is how much they have in common with the discus, including the same water parameter requirements, very similar diets, similar temperaments to an extent. They both have compressed bodies, but most importantly, and one of the most interesting facts about Uaru is their breeding habits. If you guys know discus, we know that once they lay eggs and the fry hatch, the fry actually feed off of the discus secreted slime coat, getting their nutrients from there. Only 3 fish in the world do that, and Uaru is one of them. Absolutely fascinating to observe. If you've ever wanted to keep discus and wanted to experience, the whole breeding process, which is absolutely fascinating, but maybe you can't afford discus, we can go to Uaru because they are a lot cheaper, which helps with their name, the poor man's discus. Now it makes sense. Uaru's price is kind of like supply and demand. They're not a highly popular fish, but they're oddly kind of expensive for what they are in terms of their appearance. This is a type of fish where you've kept everything and now you kind of want to keep the more drab, neutral colored fish. These guys are really only grays, browns, blacks. Not something that a new hobbyist coming into the hobby is going to enjoy, but some of the more intermediate and advanced hobbyists delight when they see a Uaru. You can usually pick these guys up for anywhere between $15 to $30, and in my opinion, you should pick them up in numbers of, similar to starting off with discus, 6 or more. In this tank, we've got about 10 of them. This is a 120-gallon aquarium, and I'd love to tell you how it's set up. First and foremost, the substrate. I went with a more natural look. This is a fine grain sand and some neutral colored, finer sized substrate, which would be considered like a gravel. Since Uaru lay adhesive eggs, one of the things you'll find is that they'll lay them almost anywhere as a regular discus will. Ideally, you'll be able to provide them with a structure, but when trying to create a more natural tank, my suggestion would be to add in some rocks as opportunities for them to lay eggs on. However, we all know that they're probably just going to lay them on the glass anyway. As for the wood you see, wood in a Uaru tank is instrumental to the success with them for a number of reasons, really three. One, it provides a bit of cover. As you can see, when these guys feel a little bit shy, they like to have a little place of refuge, as most fish will, especially at a smaller size. When these guys get grown, though, they'll rarely ever hide. So what I've done with the manzanita wood here is taken 3 branches and kind of made it look like it's just some roots coming from the surface of the water, which I felt was very simple, very basic look, however very functional for this aquarium. It's also providing them with a source of nutrients. The Uaru graze on the wood because these guys really teeter-totter between being an omnivore, maybe even a carnivore at times, to being a herbivore, which means no plants in a Uaru aquarium. No Anubias, no Java fern, they're simply not going to work. The Uaru will eat them. Maybe it will work if you keep them well fed. However, in my experience, it's just a waste of money and an expensive treat for them. If you want to feed them some vegetables, my suggestion would be to offer them a little piece of 1 leaf of romaine lettuce, for example, clip it to the side of the aquarium, and they will devour it. They absolutely love it. They're like the herbivoric piranhas of the Amazon. On the topic of diet, though, they'll eat almost anything. Being an omnivore, they'll eat pellets and flakes. They'll eat frozen foods. They'll eat prepared foods. My diet that I feed is always kind of based around a higher protein vegetable diet. So like spirulina, for example, or algae pellets, things like that. These guys love them. And believe it or not, their diet has a massive impact on their outcome as an adult. You see, if you're only offering a protein diet, these guys end up being very dark in coloration as they become an adult, which really takes away from their true potential, which as an adult, they can become like, their main body could be almost like an olive green with a black blotch, maybe some grays and some browns in there as well, but absolutely phenomenal. In this image that you're looking at right now, these were some Uaru that I had years ago. The lighter colored ones were ones I personally raised. The other 2 were ones that I purchased at that size. The only difference between them was the diets they were raised on. The ones I had a mixed diet with lots of vegetable content. The ones that I bought from somebody else had a high protein diet, not much vegetable matter in it at all. So case in point, it has a big impact on their coloration. But on the topic of coloration, one of the exciting things that excite me about Uaru, and something that will keep you coming back to looking at this tank for at least a year, again and again and again, is their color transformation that they go through. Just as an infant, as a juvenile, they have like this almost like a camouflaged appearance to them, which makes sense. Being in the Amazon, they're going to want to camouflage into their surroundings at a small size until, of course, they get bigger. But eventually, they go through this awkward stage that some of them are in now, where they've lost the camouflage, but that triangle or that black blotch I explained earlier is starting to form along the sides of the fish. And that transformation from being camouflaged to what they are now is something that occurs within 3 to 6 months of this fish. So having this fish for even a short period of time, you get to experience so much with them. It's like buying one fish and getting another eventually. Once they get to that adult size, which is about 10 to 12 inches, monstrous size, they develop that full adult patterning that you're looking for. With that said, they have these white specks on them during their transformation that will confuse you and think that your fish has ick or maybe a fungal infection or something at first look, until you take a closer inspection and realize, oh, this is part of their scales and their coloration. Getting to such a big size, you would think that they would need a pretty big tank, and that is the case. This is a 120-gallon tank. It's 4 feet long, 2 feet wide, 2 feet tall. I've got 10 in there, and why I've got 10 is for a couple of reasons. One, I usually order wholesale and I have to fill an entire box with fish, so it's better for me to order a bunch than just a little, and most of it's shipping anyways. However, I want to make sure that I get equal. Basically, I want a male and a female, and I want the best chances of getting there. 6 will get there, 10 is definitely guaranteed. 120-gallon is certainly fine enough for anywhere from 2 to 4. I've kept them in 90 gallons, for example, and had complete success and even breeding. Never got past the egg laying stage simply because the male wasn't performing, but that's a story for another time. But getting to such a big size, you would think, this is a big, mean cichlid. We know cichlids as being aggressive and mean. That's the first thing you hear when coming into the hobby. Is like, oh, stay away from cichlids. They're so, territorial and mean. But hey, they got tons of personality and they tend to be very colorful, and it's a massive family of fish. The Uaru is the gentle giant of the Amazon. Notice that I have tetras in this tank. None of them have ever been gone after, and even at an adult size, they simply will not eat them. It's not in their nature to do so. Of course, if these guys were adults and I was starving them, perhaps they would go after the tetras, but I think, honestly, Uaru have such a big heart that they'll just lay down and die before they, attack a poor little tetra. When I mentioned that these guys have so much in common with Discus and needing similar parameters, I meant it. They do need some warmer water. I keep my Uaru tanks anywhere from 26 to 28 degrees Celsius. I'm sorry, I'm Canadian. We go Celsius, not Fahrenheit. I'm sure you can convert it, but I think it's like 78 to 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Don't quote me on that, but I do like to keep it warm. Big fish, warm water equals low oxygen. The warmer the water is, the less oxygen it's actually able to contain. So you do want to make sure that the water is well agitated and well oxygenated, but at the same time, you don't want to create a blizzard within the aquarium with too much flow, because these guys don't like fast moving waters. My pH, it varies between 7.6 to 7.8, and that goes for every aquarium, even when I was breeding Discus. The water temperature, again, 26 to 27. I have very hard water. Ideally, this isn't good for Uaru based on what the water readings in the wild are, but we're not in the wild. What I like to concentrate on is simplicity and consistency. I like to make sure that the aquarium is so simple to take care of that there's not a whole lot I can mess up, which means I don't really pay attention to the parameters because my fish enjoy a consistent wrong parameters as opposed to one that I'm constantly chasing and it's going up and down. So don't worry about the pH or hardness or anything like that when it comes to Uaru. Chances are they're going to be just fine. Which means that these guys are relatively easy fish to keep. They just have some basic requirements, which includes needing a very large aquarium eventually. Other than that, do lots of water changes. They're easy to feed. They'll readily accept almost anything. And they can get along with any fish as long as that fish isn't too aggressive. These guys will go good with a lot of fish. Oscars are a fantastic idea for Uaru, but Mr. Cranky Pants or Captain Cranky Pants, Rachel's Oscar, not a good idea. Don't put him in with Uaru. I've kept these guys in with stingrays, arowana, other types of cichlids, tons of different tiny fish, and they've all done fantastic. So when it comes to tank mates, they're basically wide open options. Just don't keep anything that's too aggressive that's going to go after the Uaru. And if you see that happening, you'll have to remove the aggressive fish. Of course, we're not going to remove a Uaru. But I think that's where we're going to wrap this up. And I hope that many of you perhaps consider them as well. Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to Rachel's channel. I'm going to say this, Rachel, this is just for you. Everybody stop watching. Now that I've done a species spotlight on your channel, you have to, when you get better, come over to my channel and do a species spotlight for me. Maybe on the gar or something big, or I don't know. You guys suggest in the comment section below, for those that stuck around, what species spotlight she should do on my channel.